I remember on the first day of my treatment with my PT, she asked me, what are your goals? They're very into your goals. It's very annoying. I want to be the person who I was before. I want to have everything I had before. So I asked her, am I going to walk again? And she told me, I don't know, Libby. And when she said that, it really bugged me because, when you're in school and the teacher wants you to do well in school, she pushed you to do better. And she said, you're going to do a great job. I have full confidence. And she just told me, I don't know, Libby. And that really bugged me.
Libby Weiss grew up in Brooklyn, New York, with the typical life of a child developing and getting older. But at the age of 15, she suffered a stroke and her life was never the same since. Her life has been filled with many challenges, but no matter what has been thrown her way, you will hear how hopeful she is. This episode was very moving for me personally. I've been doing interviews for over 3 years now, and this is the first time that I woke up for a few nights after the interview thinking about the conversation. And I think Libby struck a chord in me personally, and her message, I hope, hits home for you as well. This episode is in memory of Shimon Dovid ben Yaakov Shloima, as well as Miriam Sarah Bas Yaakov Moshe. You will also hear about one of the most incredible ways to spend your Tisha B'av with the world famous Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation and their massive Tisha B'av event, their Tisha B'av video. I got a sneak peek. You can hear a lot more about them. And stick around for the very end for me to give my thoughts on this episode. Here's my conversation with Libby. I'm Yaakov Langer, and you're listening to Inspiration for the Nation. Here we are with Libby Weiss.
Hello.
I think this is the first time that a twin suggested that their sibling should be on.
That's actually very funny because, yes, but she is my one of my best friends. I'm very close with her. I'm going to be seeing her tomorrow. She just moved. She had a baby a few months ago.
Oh, wow. Nice.
2 months ago. And she's great. I love her very much.
Are you guys the type of twins that know what's going on in each other's brains?
No. But we think alike.
Okay, you do?
Yeah.
Are you identical? I'm sure the most common question of your life. Sorry. You're not identical.
No, okay. We're not identical. But everyone in camp, when my parents came to visit us on visiting day, a lot of my friends would ask me, why are you going with Shira Weiss's parents? Like, they're my parents.
People didn't know you guys were sisters?
No.
Interesting.
Or twins. And then some said, oh, yes, I knew it because of your noses and your eyes or whatever. But just it's very funny. In PT, when we had PTA every year in school, my mother would sit down at the teacher and she said, hi, I'm here for Shira and Libby Weiss. And the teacher almost fell off her chair because she did not know that we are twins or sisters because there are 4 Weisses in our grade. And we had that review every day after PTA. But, she's one of my rocks. And besides my brother, Danny, and my parents. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So can you give us a snapshot of what your life was like before your stroke?
Okay. Before my stroke, in 2016, I was on top of my world. I had amazing friends. I loved school. I was in Prospect Park Yeshiva. I did great in school. I had great friends. I was color war captain. I volunteered at soup kitchens. And every single night after school, I went to the dance studio where my mother drove me, my sister and I sometimes, to the dance studio. We did Zumba, kickboxing, running. Some days when I'm running. I was color war captain in camp. And just life was great. And I could not wait for my life to unfold. And every night when my mother picked me up from the studio, I was so excited for my future. And I told my mother, Ma, isn't life great? I can't wait for the future. You're so excited that you're having a simcha coming up or a yantif, and you're jumping inside. So that's how I felt at the time. And I just could not wait for my future. I knew Hashem was being so good to me at the time. Purim 2016, my twin sister Shira and I hosted our 10th grade Purim party. 50 girls came to our home. It rocked. We had We had amazing food. We had amazing music. I made a great playlist. I love music. And we had a very nice photo booth. It was fun. And then the next day on Purim morning, Purim was Wednesday night, Thursday. So Thursday morning, I woke up with a headache and I had a bit of fatigue. I felt a bit weak. And I just went on with my day. And I took some Advil and I took some Tylenol and aspirin to just get through it with it. So on Friday morning on Shushan Purim, my mother took me to the doctor because one of us had a bit of a pain or ache or a cough. We always went straight to the doctor to get tested out. He looked at me, he did some tests, and he didn't see anything wrong with me. And going into Shabbos, it was not so great. I still had my headaches and I felt weak, and I was still popping in those pills, and until when Matzah Shabbos came around, things got worse. I was in my bed, and all of a sudden I started to scream, I can see what's happening to me. Mommy, Daddy, help me. My sister Shira and my brother Danny were nearby, and I said, I want to be with you. I'm so scared. What's happening to me? And right after that, I passed out. And apparently Hatzalah picked me up from my house, and they took me to Maimonides in Borough Park. In Maimonides, they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And they couldn't put me into one of their beds in their PICU, in their pediatric ICU. So they alerted, because they knew that it did not look good. And I was waiting in their ER for a few hours. Baruch Hashem, I wasn't alert. I was out until...
You're happy you were not.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yes. It was a chesed from Hashem. So at 2 a.m. in the morning, Weill Cornell Medical Center alerted that they had a bed for me, a room in their PICU. So they sent an ambulance from Cornell to Maimonides in Borough Park. When I arrived at Cornell at 5 a.m. in the morning, they had a team waiting for me. They were frantic, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. They took so many tests, CAT scans, and an MRI. And when the MRI came back, they confirmed what had happened, that I had suffered a terrible stroke.
So how old were you at that point?
I was 16, so, a month after my 16th birthday.
So how many 16-year-olds get strokes?
It's very rare.
Well, let's start even in more basic. For people who don't know, myself included, I've heard of strokes. They're not good. I know that. What is a stroke exactly? A
stroke is when the brain loses oxygen. It's either could be from a blood clot or from some blood type issues. And I never had any of those issues. But I had the stroke from a staph infection. And that did a 1 in a million thing to my body. And staph is everywhere. It's on our clothes, it's on our skin, and somehow it entered my bloodstream and caused the stroke. But it was like later on when I started my therapy route. It was me and the 80-year-old, so it was a lot of fun.
Youngest person in the room by far.
Yeah.
So what was your mental state like once you heard and found out that you had a stroke? What were you emotionally going through?
So it all happened very slow. So when they confirmed that I had the stroke, I had to have emergency surgery, and the surgery is where they removed a piece of the skull from the part near the part that the stroke happened. So they had to remove some part of the skull over here, and then to allow the brain to swell after having such a traumatic injury. And they put me into an induced coma for 10 days. And during that time, my name was going all over the place. You know, you hear all these people, unfortunately, are going through such crazy tests, which are horrible. So I was that was me. And also some of the nurses, the Jewish nurses that weren't in my circles, got text messages to daven for me.
Wow. And at what point did you become cognizant of what was going on?
So after 10 days, I started to open my eyes, and they didn't know if I was going to be able to understand anything. And when I woke up, all I felt was that tube down my throat. They had so many tubes around me, and I couldn't move at the time. My whole left side was paralyzed from the stroke. I couldn't move my neck, and I couldn't really see from all of the medication that I was on. It was very scary. And the doctors were asking me questions at that time when I had the tube down my throat. What is my name? Who's the president? What is the year? It was very scary. And all my family and friends that were nearby, they were playing the music that I made, the playlists that I created for them. And it was horrible, all of that noise. But it was very horrible waking up. It all happened in a bit. Like, it happened very slow for me that when I woke up, because a lot happened to myself. But on, I think it was day 12, after waking up, with all of the wires around my body, I did this to my family. And they asked me, Libby, do you want your phone? And at the time I had the tube down my throat, and I gave them a thumbs up. And my father took my phone out, and he realized that there was a password on my phone. And my twin sister, Shira, apparently walked into the room. And my father asked Shira, do you know Libby's password? And Shira grabbed my phone, and she was trying all the codes that she could think of, our birthday, we're twins, and all sorts of things. And all of a sudden, with my eyes closed, I held up 2 fingers. And my father asked Shira, does it start with a 2? And Shira screamed, yes. She said, yes, it's 2580. And she remembered, no, that's not my code anymore. But
okay, good. I was going to say it now. I didn't come back to you.
But at that moment, they knew that I was back. I had come back. And they asked me, who do you want to speak to, Libby? Who do you want to call? And they named many people until they mentioned my best friend Rachel's name. And I gave them a thumbs up. And I was back. I had come back. And they knew that I was going to be okay. And besides all the doctors who say crazy things, let me just say that doctors can scare you, but the real doctor is Hashem. And we just have to take everything day by day. And at that time, when I had the tubes around my body, like that day, I think when they took it out, I was very loopy. They put me on a lot of meds. When you have your wisdom teeth out, you've seen those videos of people, like, they feel like they're flying on cloud 9.
Right.
So I was very loopy, and in walked my first visitor, a man with a very long black beard, a really long black beard. And in my loopy state, I looked at him and I said, ooh, we have a chashuv visitor. And I could see him snack back because he thought that he was visiting a girl in a coma. And I told him, I think I watched you on Gruntek with my brother. My brother Danny and I watched Gruntek together.
So who was this man?
So this man was was Rabbi Benjamin Eisenberger in Bar Park. And I told him that my father told me that when there's a chola, the Shekhinah is right near them. And I gave Rabbi Eisenberger all of the brachos that any person could need. So he was my first visitor.
Why do you want to speak to your friend Rachel?
We were best friends since we were 2 years old. Like, we were very good friends, and we're like, she was like our triplet. So Shira, Rachel, and I, we were called the triplets. So we're very close, all 3 of us, and just, we've been through a lot in life and whatever, things, but
so
she's my very good friend.
What was the road to recovery like?
So after 3 weeks in Cornell, I was transferred to Rusk Rehab. And in Rusk, I had to learn how to do everything again. And it was really hard. I had to learn how to move my neck, regain and learn how to do everything again, right-handed, because I am weak on the left side. At that time, they was just focusing on how I'm going to learn how to be right-handed, do everything right-handed, dress myself, do everything.
Were you a righty or?
Baruch Hashem, I was a righty.
Okay,
I met other people who were a righty, and they had their stroke on the left side. The left side of the brain controlled the right.
Right.
First off, but in Rusk, I had to learn how to walk again. And on the first day of my therapy there, I thought I was going to be out in 2 weeks. I didn't think I was going to be there for 2 months. I thought the road of recovery is shorter than it would be. And I remember on the first day of my treatment with my PT, she asked me, "What are your goals?" They're very into your goals. It's very annoying. Like, I want to be the person who I was before. I want to have everything I had before. So I asked her, "Am I going to walk again?" And she told me, "I don't know, Libby." And when she said that, it really bugged me because, when you're in school and the teacher wants you to do well in school, she pushed you to do better. And she said, you're going to do a great job. I have full confidence. And she just told me, "I don't know, Libby." And that really bugged me. And I went into that session and had to learn how to do everything. Meaning learn how to stand up, sit straight in a chair. How I'm sitting right now, I couldn't do that.
How was your talking? How was your speech?
So my speech was very slow, and I have to correct on my R's and L's. But after, working it, chipping it away day by day, I got better. And if you hear me from like my video of 2 years ago, I know that you heard that video that I spoke for that Chayil seminary. My speech has improved much more since then.
Incredible.
Yeah. And so in Rusk, I had to learn how to walk again, and also had an OT who had to teach me how to do everything, like putting on the socks one-handed and getting dressed and brushing my teeth, opening up the toothpaste. I had to do all of that, and it was very hard. And when the doctors or my therapist touched my weak side, my left arm, I would jump. My brain forgot the pathways of the connections of the sense of touch. So that was horrible.
So it means it felt like it hurt you?
It hurt. When you go to the doctor and they have very cold hands.
Yes.
So it was like that on another level.
And simply them touching you.
Yeah. Just like touching, just like how you doing in the morning. So that was very difficult. But after a while, I was in Rusk for about 2 months, and after Rusk, I did outpatient for a month or two, and I started another therapy. And I did therapy for 6 hours every day for 5 years, which was very difficult. During those summers where my friends were going to camp, I was in therapy 6 hours a day with the 80-year-olds. Yeah. And in therapy, I had to, keep on being happy. And my family, since I started, since I had the stroke and came home and had therapy at home, my family chose to be positive and very upbeat along the way. And I knew that if I kept on laughing along the way, it'll be good. And I also listen to a lot of music, and music is a very big part of my life.
Okay, we will be right back to this week's episode. And if you think this story is moving, you didn't even get to the point. I don't want to spoil it for you, but Libby's story is incredible. But first, how are you going to be spending your Tisha B'av? I know in the past, so often, so many of us have just gone through Tisha B'av. Yes, we're fasting, and we are trying to, be in shul as much as we can. But let's be honest, there's so much time at night, during the day, where we have free time. And it's so easy these days to just go on our WhatsApp, look at our status, chas v'shalom, watch something on one of these streaming sites that aren't kosher from old days, right? It's a day we're supposed to tap into something. And you might be saying like, okay, what should I be feeling? What should I be tapping into? And in walks the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. To me, they're the first at putting together a beautiful presentation, a beautiful show on Tisha B'av to really help people connect. And this year, I got a glimpse at what they have, and maybe I'm an easy crier. I don't know. I was crying. I was bawling my eyes out. And I didn't even watch the full program. I got a 10, 15 minute sneak peek. Incredible. Their lineup is incredible. I have the program in front of me. They have speakers like Rabbi Uri Deutsch, Rabbi Gershon Miller, Rabbi Ari Ben Shushan, particularly. I mean, I'm close with Rabbi Eitan Feiner. And come on, I'm honest. I'm like, I know Rabbi Eitan Feiner, and I know his stories, and I know his challenges he's had, but I listened to the interview they had with him, and I was bawling my eyes out. So if you're looking to get uplifted and tap into what Tisha B'av truly is about, and to understand what pain really is, go ahead and go to tishab'av.global. It is the worldwide Tisha B'av event that you don't want to miss by the Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. But if you're watching this and you're saying, wait a second, I'm an inspiration for the nation guy, and I want something a little more out of it. We got you covered, because you're gonna get 10% off with the promo code 10LL. That's 10LL. You're gonna get 10% off. The tickets for it are really not that expensive. I think it's like $20 per person or $85 per family. Well, you're gonna get 10% off, and as you know, when you support our sponsors, you support us. So go ahead and spend your, I think the program is like, I don't know if it's 2 hours, a little more than 2 hours, incredible, of just beautiful footage, beautiful program. And I only said half the speakers. They obviously have a women's program with the very talented Mrs. Miriam Swordloff, Rebbetzin Aviva Feiner, Mrs. Mindy Blumenfeld, Mrs. Shandel Sims, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, Rabbi Shmuley Hirth, Rivka Shotkin. They have Rabbi Struli Fried, who I personally know from Chai Lifeline, Mordechai Weinberger, LCSW. Jam-packed, and they have amazing B-roll. If this is for you, this is for your kids, this is something that honestly you don't even have to watch on Tisha B'av. And you're like, okay, I get it, fine. I want to get back to Libby's story. I'll first interject with one thing. I just want to read you some of the things that you will be hearing on this Tisha B'av event. And if you haven't noticed yet, I am telling you that this is the way to spend your Tisha B'av. But why Tisha B'av? What am I supposed to feel? What am I supposed to do today? You're going to get the answer in this video. Will I break or will I grow? How to develop resilience. It is something that everyone needs throughout going through life. The role of chronic pain. They talk to people who've gone through and are going through pain constantly, blaming guilt when it feels like something bad happened because of you, because of me. When someone is suffering, what to do and what not to do. Throughout it all, you will leave feeling hopeful, and that is something that you want on Tisha B'av. So again, go to tishab'av.global. I'll spell that for you. I have it in front of me. tishab'av.global. Again, use the promo code 10LL for 10% off. And this is the ultimate way to spend your Tisha B'av with the very incredible Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation. And now, back to this week's episode. Okay, so which musicians, singers visited you? If
I had so many. One of the first singers were Eighth Day. My family friends got Eighth Day to come to me in Cornell. And I couldn't move my left side at the time. And they were singing, Yalili, all the regular songs, Shema. I love that song. And I was doing my motions with my hands to basically let them know that I was loving it. And Ali Levin came to visit me in the hospital. I don't think he was very famous then in 2016.
Right, yeah. So he was just starting out.
Yeah.
Man.
So he just came out of the blue. He knew my neighbor, Dovid Bolak, who was friends with him. Mm-hmm. And he came to visit me, and I was playing music at that time. I remember I was with my father, and he just started to sing, and it was so nice. It just, we had so much outpouring of love from everyone. We had so much love, and people just wanted to give. And when someone is in the hospital and people want to help out, there are sometimes people who say, no, we are not accepting. But it's very important to accept, because you want to make them feel good, and then they're going to ask you if you need something else. And sometimes you don't realize it when you're in that environment where you need others.
It's like what you're saying. It is a gift when someone wants to offer something. They want to help you, and sometimes the biggest gift you could give to them is saying, "Okay, I'll take it. I'll accept it, even if you don't want to." In that moment,
right? And sometimes it's hard to accept,
right?
Yeah, but just it was amazing what happened. We had so many visitors, to the point where the security in Rusk Rehab would ask the people that came to visit me, if they're here to visit Libby Weiss. And my family friend who came to visit me almost like fell, or just she couldn't believe that they knew that she was coming to visit me. I was the most visited patient in Rusk Rehab then.
Were you, like, as time was going on and you're getting better,
yeah,
were you like just super frustrated with your situation? Like, here you are before the stroke, just going through life and being the most positive, upbeat, being so excited, and then this happens and it's throwing a big wrench in your life plan.
It was hard, but I was trying to be happy along the way, but I couldn't just go into that pit and be miserable. I just had to remain being positive, because every day I saw that I was getting more movement, or I was able to, when I pushed my foot into the therapist and she said that I was moving it, and it was very exciting. In the beginning, when you are recovering from an injury, you see these little things and you get very excited about it. But and sometimes you plateau, which is very hard. Ellie Schwebel came to visit me in the hospital, and I always had a lot of people in the hospital room. My hospital room was a party always, to the point where the next door neighbor got very jealous, and the therapist told me later on, she said, he told me, "Did you know that your next door neighbor was so jealous that you had visitors nonstop and she only had her mom?" And later on, that made me feel so grateful with my community and my family. So when Ellie Schwebel came to visit me in the hospital... Was
he wearing a hat? That's my first
question. Yes, and actually I had no hair that time ever, and my mother asked me, "Do you want to wear a hat?" I was like, "What for?" He sat down with his guitar and he told us that he just recorded this song, and he started to sing this song. I don't know if you know his song from Leif Tahar. Leif Tahar 5.
Leif Tahar, not the cult, the band.
No.
Because my mind is so in Leif Tahar right now. Yeah, beautiful band. We love them.
So he started to sing, "Sometimes your world is crashing down. You ask, why me? Why now? Why now? Your mind is crying for sanity. All you got to do is sing or say, na na na, gamzu latova." And there was not a dry eye in that room. And ever since I heard that song and we had it on video, I would replay that song and I would sing that to myself. And now that I had it, and then eventually it got out, I put it on one of my playlists and I would play in my room, and
you know what's so special about that story? That so often, obviously he wrote it for himself and to impact others as well, but like, you don't really know. Like, I'm sure when he wrote it, he didn't understand how much of an impact, how much of a shift it would bring to you and to your family, like how important that is. And like, there's so many times in life where we're doing things and we don't really understand how powerful it really is.
I could also say that his other song, Modim, when my father was sick, he played Ellie Schwebel's song, No Dalacha. Yeah. So my father had that song on repeat. Thank you, Hashem, for the life that you've given me. He had that on repeat. So a lot of Ellie's songs are very close to my family's heart.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned before that you're upset when this PT was, I don't know if you'll walk again. I mean, clearly I saw you walk in here, they're clearly wrong. Yeah. Were you ever told any other things from doctors or PTs, let's say like about getting married, let's say? Did they ever tell you that, oh, this isn't for you?
Whatever they told me, I proved them wrong.
Nice.
And I am their star patient. They always tell me, come back. And I'm like, But,
why is that? Why do you think that is it that they don't know what they're talking about? Is there something different in you? Is it different could anyone make that difference?
I think they just don't want to get sued, I just think that. So
But why would they get sued if they say, oh, because you're saying if they say, oh, yeah, you can't
I just
walk
don't
again.
So I just,
They
sometimes
play
they
it
tell me no. When my therapist would ask me, Libby, you're ready to start the session, and I would tell her I was born ready. That's how I was before the stroke. Whenever my sister and I worked out together, with the trainer, we had to do push-ups, and then she told me to do 10, I did 20, and then 50. So I was like a 50 push-up girl and 6-minute plank, and it was very. I was very motivated. I'm a very motivated person.
Yeah, I could see that, and I could hear that from your story. So your father, I personally didn't know him, but I knew of him through my brother and just through the community. I think he was someone who was the classic good balabas. And then he's giving the Daf Yomi share.
Yeah.
He's part of the community. People know him. He's serious, but he's also has a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
Extremely involved with Bonei Olam.
Yeah.
Well, first off, tell us from your vantage point about your father.
Right. So my father was Beezy Weiss. He was the chairman for Bonei Olam, and actually one of the first Flatbush Bonei Olam events was in our house years ago. I think in 2009. He was very funny. I don't know if you remember him. He did the perm spiel in Rabbi. What was that shul? I forgot.
I don't know.
Rabbi Reisman. He used to be shul there.
Nice.
Yeah, it was Aguda. I think in the Aguda in Far Rockaway.
Oh, yeah.
So he used to give the spiel there.
Oh,
and they had a whole.
Wait, why would he go to Far Rockaway?
Because he was friendly with some guys there.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. I always knew about the Aguda perm spiel as a very big thing.
He was the Mishalach.
Oh, no way. Interesting.
Yeah.
So he I mean, let's talk about before you guys were born. For many years your parents couldn't have children.
Yeah, and the doctors told them that they will never have children, and this is where we prove the doctors are wrong, and we know that Hashem is in control. So yeah, I
heard some speeches from him I watched on YouTube. It's
you saw that.
Very powerful.
You saw that the one where they honored him this past year.
Yeah. So special. Yeah. So he's been speaking for the past 13 years.
Yeah, there, and also spoke for another organization called Chana in Europe. It's like Bonei Olam, and unfortunately, being a strokes organization, and he spoke for Prospect, my school. He
was a wonderful speaker. So, can you tell us what happened with your father, and what was the news like for you?
So it was at the end of August. He wasn't feeling so well, and a week prior, we had a wedding in Florida, and he was amazing. He was speaking in the restaurant Sheva Brachos, and just one day he wasn't feeling well. He thought I had COVID, and we were very careful with Corona. And he went to the doctor, and they saw something in the chest X-ray, and he had esophageal cancer, and it happened so quick. And he told me when I found out that he's gonna have to go for testing, I went to him by his bed. It was a Matzah Shabbos, and I told him I'm so sorry, and we had to be very strong for him because that's how he did everything after I got sick. And we kept a very happy home and very fun loving home. But I told him I'm sorry that this is going on. He said, Libby, I was in the lab next to this kid, and he was screaming. He didn't want to get the prick done, and the nurse told him it's just going to be a little prick. And he told me that's how I'm going to take it. And when Hatzalah picked him up the last time, they said that he was such a mensch when they picked him up, and he was not in a good state, and he went so fast, and he just left me. Yeah.
What was that like for you? I mean, you've already gone through so much, and someone like your father was one of the rocks in your life. And
yeah, he was my everything. He really was. And whenever we were in a store like Target, and it was December, and I was going up and down the aisle, and all of a sudden I saw him standing straight like a soldier with a Christmas ornament around his neck. He was not embarrassed. He just wanted to make me laugh along this way. And also he could be very serious, as you saw in the films of the Bonei Olam videos. And when things got tough, he would tell me so many amazing vartlach and stories, and always had the right things to say. One day when I had a very down moment where I just didn't see any light, at the end, it was very difficult. And when he came home after giving the daf, he gave daf yomi every night, I was in the kitchen experimenting, trying to keep myself busy, and that wasn't really working out. And I told him what was going on, and he sat me down and he told me that there was a Rebbe that came to America after the Holocaust, after losing his whole family in Auschwitz, and he built himself. He remarried and he had many kids later on. It's very interesting about the Holocaust survivors. They lost everything in Europe and they came to America or wherever they settled themselves, and they built. They did not look back. They looked forward. So he told me that this Rebbe was approached by his followers, and they asked him, "How are you okay? How are you happy these days?" And he showed them a paper with a black dot. And he asked them, "What do you see?" And they said that they saw the black dot. And he told them, "But you don't see the white. You don't see what's below the white dot." And after I heard that, everything changed. And I have been keeping that story and that lesson in my mind. And without him now, it's not easy. It's really not easy, because he was there all the time with me. And I try to keep that message with me. Yeah.
That's nice. It's funny, before I asked you, I'm like, do you want some tissues in case you might cry? I'm literally tearing up this entire time. I'm the guy who needs the tissues in this interview. You're like strong as a rock over there. Wow, that's very tough. Was there like any last conversation that you had with him, or?
He was very weak. It was a Friday night, and he was sitting on the couch. We had a relative over that Friday night. My neighbors always came every Friday night. We're like family with them, and just couldn't really speak to him a lot because he was out of breath. And that night we all went to bed, and I woke up and I saw flashing lights. I'm like, oh my gosh. And they went to the hospital that night. So I'm at the Shabbos, I went to the hospital, and I always wrote my father's letters father letters when he went for a treatment, and even in the hallway when he left his room, I had a paper that said, you got this and it's going to be okay. And I just always sent him letters, and we couldn't really have a full conversation because he was very weak. But that was the last time we saw him, was that Matzah Shabbos, and it happened so fast. Just shows you how, you have to be grateful for every moment that you have.
That's very true, very beautiful. How long have you been in Shidduchim, and what's that like for you?
So I'm 23, and I feel like, in our world, we're just all a piece of paper, and I think that it's like the game Go Fish, It's like, this person, and yes, I had a stroke and I am limited, but I can do everything. I can do so much, you wouldn't believe it. But I just sometimes Shadchanim, they play Go Fish by the disability and the deficit, and they don't think about the personality, so it doesn't really clap so well.
We were just literally talking before about the past episode of Mendy Libby, which
that was amazing.
Thank you so much for it. It's always like so meta for me when I talk with a guest about the previous guest. But in his episode, it came up, and I'll say it again because he keeps on coming up. Shout out to Yehuda Newman. Yehuda Newman, who I don't know the exact terminology. He has dwarfism. He's a lot shorter than the average person, and he was venting that sometimes he feels like people are judging him, especially when it comes to shidduchim. Like, okay, first off, this is your condition. You are shorter, or let's say someone like you. Like, okay, first off, this is how we're going to label you. You had a stroke. And you're like, what in the world? No, that is, okay, that's something that happened to me, and it's a part of my life. We're not going to lie about it, but that's not who I am. Right. It is,
but just... it could get very annoying where they just set you up with someone that you do something. I Google search everyone because that's how you do it today.
Right.
But just when I see certain things or hear about someone, and that's a red flag for me. It's annoying at times. You have to give an excuse why it is or not or whatever. But they just play go fish.
Is it harder? Like, it's always hard when you have someone who's like an older sibling and the younger sibling gets married first. But is there also the added component that, like, the fact that you're a twin? I get it, you guys are different, but the fact that your sister's married and you're single and you're still trying to figure out. I mean, obviously, typically there's one person who gets married first.
Yeah.
But is that harder in a sense? Because, like, I don't know, twins have that connection.
We're very close, and I must say that I prepared myself the year before because I didn't want to just for it all to happen all at once, and I prepared myself for mentally prepared myself before, like in seminary, and it was whenever my sister went on a date, I would sit in the kitchen with her. Right, where she would go out, we'd take our selfies, and she would go off. And I was very involved in everything, what she's going to wear, and her makeup, and whatever, but and everything else. But when she got engaged, she just kept me so involved. And Yaakov, my brother-in-law, he's amazing, and they have a cute baby now named after my father, Ben Sion.
Wow.
And but with having everyone move on, this is life. Sometimes I had that, and when I was in therapy in California those summers, and my friends were going to camp. I loved camp. I was color captain in Sternberg. I just loved it there. I made amazing friends, and it was amazing. And, the last day of my last year in Camp Sternberg, I was in Anna Heller. That's the eldest division. That was at the time. They have another division that's older. And my share counselor, she gives share. She told us that we're going to write letters to ourselves, and in a year from now, she's going to mail those letters. So I was thinking, I was going into 10th grade. I just got out of 9th grade, and I took my regents, and I wrote a letter to myself saying, Libby, how was your year? How were your regents? How was history and math or whatever? And I asked myself, what did you do this summer? Because there's no more camp. Are you working? What's going on? And a year later, when I got that letter back, I had just came home from having the surgery where they put the piece back into the skull after the brain stopped swelling. And when I got that letter, I knew what it was. All of the drawing, the markers and the stickers all over. I knew what it was, and I couldn't open that letter when I came home. I had to have my mother open up the letter, and when I read it, I ripped it up and I threw it out, and I did not want to see it because it got me very down. And then after sitting down for a few minutes, I thought to myself, I can change this around. So I decided to write a letter to my supervisors from the last year, to thank them for giving me the best memories. And that summer, I was living off of the memories that I had in Sternberg, and actually got a response card from that counselor, and she said that she was looking through the envelopes and she was waiting for her letter, and she got one from me, which was very sweet. So she responded, but it was very difficult then. It's
okay. I have a lot of things to say about that, and I'm crying again. It's very interesting because it's like you sent yourself a letter, and it's in a certain way so offensive. You at the time didn't mean to.
No, we didn't know what the future holds.
You didn't know, and you're like looking back and just like holding on to that. But I like that lesson of holding on to the good memories and the parts that you're happy about.
Oh yeah, I did that all the time, even before the stroke, and I didn't know what the future held. In school, I brought my Canon camera, And I told my friends, we were in 10th grade at the time, I told my friends that we are going to be using this for the 12th grade, for 12th grade seniors. Like, I think they had a dinner the last day with teachers. And I told, would always bring my video camera and film in between class, sometimes in the middle of class, but sometimes my friends just took it around. And little did they know that I was videoing for 12th grade, but I was videoing because I knew life was so great then. I really did that, and I have all the footage. Some of them are just so funny. It's really funny, and it was good then. And I know that life can be good again because it was good before, and Hashem was very good to me then.
It's very powerful. If there was one person from history that you could sit down with for an hour, schmooze it up, who would it be?
I knew you were going to ask this question.
Okay, yes.
But instead of saying all of the amazing people in Tanakh, I would like to speak to my father. Yeah.
Nice.
Because he would have always had the perfect thing to tell me.
That is very nice. From all the 613 mitzvahs, is there one mitzvah that you feel more connected to than others? I'm going to wipe my eyes now. So.
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah, but you can answer.
Yeah. I actually choose two mitzvos. One is tefillah. When I was in the hospital and I first started to say the brachos from the card that my sister bought me, it just meant so much to me. And also in rehab, I saw my father davening Shimon Esrei, and he was davening mincha. And I thought to myself, I really want to stand up and daven. I really want to do it. So that was one of my goals, to be able to say Shemona Esrei and stand up, where I eventually got to do that. And I daven every day, 3 times a day. So that's one of my mitzvahs. And another one is Shabbos. We all love Shabbos. Who doesn't love Shabbos? When I was in high school, I loved Shabbos because school was very hard and you had a good break. But when I started my recovery, I went to a lot of doctors and therapy appointments, and Shabbos was the best thing ever for me. I just love Shabbos. I don't want to turn on my phone after Shabbos. Really, really incredible.
We spoke about you. We spoke about your sister, your father, your brother came up. What about your mother? She's really outside now, and yeah. I don't think she hears. We kicked her out for the interview, so we could just get in the zone. But I'm sure this has been a lot for her.
Oh yeah, she's been my rock as well. She's been at every single doctor's appointment, therapy. And also whenever I got out of surgery, she was there when I woke up. And in Cornell, when I was in Cornell, the doctors had sneakers, and I was very nervous because she wasn't there at the time, because it was very scary at the moment. And she had her clippity cloppity shoes on her, and when you have one sense is less, I couldn't see. When you don't have one sense, the other one becomes more dominant. Mm-hmm. And when I heard the clippity cloppity coming down the hall, I calmed down. The machine stopped beeping. Wow. And she's been my rock along the way. It's very difficult without my father, but she is very strong, and I got it from her and my father.
What do you want the world to know about you and the challenges that you've gone through?
So last week, Mendy, right? Mendy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mendy said not to give up. So that's one of my messages. And another message is that, sometimes you are given a challenge and you didn't choose to have that. Sometimes in life you're given a test, and it's up to you how you respond and react to your situation. In life, when you are on the ground and you just can't get up, think about what there is, what you have, the good. Listen to the music. Say the chazals that you heard in that song. And also just know that it can be good. I know everyone has their own pekalach, but at the end of the day, it can be good.
That's really beautiful. We're going to finish off with this last question. What's a story that inspires you? Maybe it happened in your life, maybe you've heard it in your life, but what gives you the strength?
So it didn't really happen. It happened to myself, my sister. When I was in Cornell, my family friend took my sister Shira out shopping in Manhattan, and they were in Kate Spade. And when they were checking out, my family friend asked Shira, "Do you want to buy something if she wanted to buy something for me?" And she was hemming and hawing. "What should you get me? I just woke up from the coma." And the woman behind the cashier asked her, "What are you talking about?" And she said, "Well, my sister Libby, she's in the hospital." And the woman she asked her, "Is it Libby you had this your Chaved?" She was like, "What?" She said, and the woman said, "Oh my gosh, I davened for her every single day. We're a part of this Tehillim group in New Jersey." This just shows you who we are. We come from an unbelievable nation. And we all are, one, we're all together, whether, we come from different backgrounds. But just that was very inspiring in that moment.
Well, Libby, you're an inspiration for the nation. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to this week's episode. If you got this far in the video on YouTube, go ahead and leave the code word HOPE, HOPE, HOPE. I was very moved. I had a conversation with Libby and her sister, her twin sister, before to do like a pre-interview. And while Libby was talking before the interview, I said, "Libby, stop talking. Save it for the interview. Save it. I don't want to know anything you're saying." She was mentioning the dot example story, and I was just so inspired from the phone call. I'm like, please just save it. And it's funny. I'm not even sure if that part got cut out, but before the interview, I asked Libby, I said, "By the way, is this the kind of interview where I should have tissues at hand?" I was asking for her, and she's like, "Yeah, why not? You never know what's gonna happen." And the entire time, I wasn't bawling, but I just had tears streaming down my face, and I could not stop. Libby is definitely an inspiration for the nation, and I'm sure her father is looking down on her and her family, and just so proud. And yeah, if you have a shidduch idea for Libby, I don't know if she knows I'm doing this, but if you have a shidduch idea for Libby, she's an incredible girl. You can send an email to hi@livinglechaim.com. That's hi@livinglechaim.com. And if you are watching this before Tisha B'av or even after Tisha B'av, and you want to fill your Tisha B'av with inspiration, with realizing what the day truly is about and not wasting it away, but really feeling hopeful, then you could go to tishabav.global. I'll spell that. That's tishabav.global, tishabav.global, and you're going to get 10% off with the code 10, that's 10LL, stands for Living L'Chaim, but 10LL, you'll get 10% off. It's not an expensive ticket. I think it's like $20 a ticket, you get 10% off, or if you're family, I think it's $85 and you get 10% off that. Go ahead and buy it. Again, you're gonna have an incredible Tisha B'av, if that even makes sense, but you're gonna have a really moving Tisha B'av. I think that it's a better adjective. You're gonna have a very moving Tisha B'av. And on top of that, whenever you go and help our advertisers, you help and support Inspiration for the Nation. How can you give back to us? You could share this episode with people, you could rate us 5 stars, or you could go ahead and help our sponsors. And we love our sponsors. We don't connect with every single person. I had like a few conversations this week. Baruch Hashem, we're in a position to say, hey, that doesn't fit for Inspiration for the Nation. But if you like Inspiration for the Nation, you definitely know who Chofetz Chaim Heritage Foundation is, and go to tishabav.global and use the promo code 10LL. If you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and share this with friends and family and loved ones. Until next time, you can be inspirational. L'chaim. Living L'chaim.